All right, everybody. This is Supraliminal Spotlight, episode 6 with Castro. Hopefully you're here after just hearing the beat set. If you haven't heard it yet, the link is in the description. Also, top right of your screen, you'll see it there. Watch that shit. It was amazing. It was great. I mean, we're always hyped on that.
I'm really excited to get into this episode, namely because I've been a fan of Castro, and to be quite frank, he's been one of the artists that kind of resonated with me personally in terms of the stuff that I make too, which is very hard to find these days. So
Yeah.
This is a conversation that I'm really excited to get into.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, I felt the same way when I first heard your set.
Oh man.
Yeah, and that was what was that? One of the Park at the Shows. Was that this year?
Yeah, it was.
That was like at the beginning of
Pretty
the year.
early, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to hear your set. Like, kind of, you mentioned this off camera that we were watching you, kind of just dialed in. Where like like when you're at the
Yeah.
beat set, you're like talking to people, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like this is dope. You're,
It's easy to
you're
be
recording
loose
your
with it.
video, but when you're sitting there, just like head down listening, like it's a different experience.
It
like,
is, yeah.
And hopefully everyone at home is gonna have that experience if you've heard Castro's beat sets. If you're watching this video, you've probably heard his beat sets, so you know what I mean. You get to really just like dial in and listen.
Well, it's kind of funny. I started really feeling the music towards like the second half of like as I was shooting, because I think I was feeling stiff, and then I had like a moment where I found myself. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling. Like,
Yeah, you're kinda in the
fine,
groove.
Like I'm in it.
Hell yeah.
So I just wonder, like, if when I get to rewatch it, I'm just like curious to see like at what point in a song like that I started to be like, cool, I'm locked
You'll
in.
remember where,
Yeah.
I'm locked in with
where
Yeah.
the key got engaged.
Yeah.
Dude, I did want to mention too, because I saw you, what was that, last week, the week before last, that I'm glad you're healthy again and feeling good. I'm always glad to have good health.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just sick for a little bit. For most of April, I just had the double whammy of like 2 weeks of having the flu. And then once I thought that was over, apparently the flu commonly turns into bronchitis, which is horrible and the most uncomfortable other 2 weeks. Because the flu, I've had the flu before, but I've never had a case of bronchitis.
Did you lose your voice and everything?
No,
or
it
was it just
the
more
breathing.
just
And that scared
you're like
me.
wheezing?
Yeah.
That's
something that I
that's
fear.
scary, dude.
It was scary because like the first night when it hit pretty badly, I was so close to waking up my roommates I was like, can you drive me to like the hospital? Because I'm scared.
No,
like
for
not
real.
even like.
I think breathing problems are one of the ones.
Because
Like,
I woke up. being
Yeah.
Like, whoa, this is hard to breathe. But then I calmed myself down because I was like, all right, before I do that, because one, it was funny because the day after I told him like I think I should have went to the hospital. He's like, it would have been okay.
yeah, it would have taken you.
But in my head, I was just like, let me first Google. Like, I'm that person. I'm like, let me Google everything.
Yeah, Google
to kind of
MD.
take off the like anxiety because I was like,
Dude, most people do the opposite, by the
Yeah,
way. Most
exactly.
people Google it and go, oh shit, I'm going to the fucking hospital.
well, because I was just like, when first thing I saw was just like, okay, they said in an emergency if you have like trouble breathing, but if you have like blue lips and like blue nails.
Oh, okay.
That's the sign that you're actually
Right,
not
like the
oxygen.
pale white skin.
Yeah.
But and I was
all
looking
that.
at it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I look the same, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then people even said like, usually it's just the shock, and then other people on Reddit were just like, it may trigger a panic attack in people, and I think I was having that. 'Cause I woke up
yeah.
and, like, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I know this is always
Yeah.
a sensitive question,
I'm
but
okay.
like, did you get like massive diarrhea from that shit?
The flu maybe would have
Because
fucked him
sometimes that happens, and that's a
Oh,
symptom.
it's funny.
But if you
I kind of
didn't, then-
attributed that to. I thought it was the medication because I took like a decongestion. And I
Okay.
thought that was just a
Oh,
sign.
yeah,
But
okay.
no, I had like stomach problems too.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
yeah.
all- I was all
I
over
think,
it.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it
brutal.
all like inevitably comes full circle like
Yeah.
that. I'm glad you're.
Yeah, I was gonna say, glad you're
fucking
better.
good, man.
Yeah, and that you
that
came
was
out to
like-
Park
I
at the
didn't
show,
Yeah, that was like
and that you were saying like, oh, I'm like finally, I'm good to be in public again, like good to.
Because that was all April, and then the show was like just like last week or weekend.
Yeah, so a couple
So
weeks
I was
of
already,
health.
like, at least 2 weeks of being just
Couple weeks of
getting
health.
back in that finally.
Yeah.
And I think there's that saying. It's like when you're sick, like you kind of really take for granted the regular moments when you're not. Like,
Yeah.
just the little moments when you're like, oh, I could not sleep for like almost 6 days straight because
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe and it was so uncomfortable to lie down.
Yeah.
Yeah, breathing problems. That's a brutal one.
Yeah.
That's
when you can't
not
even like
fun.
sneeze, laugh, or cough without feeling pain. That's
Oh yeah.
That's when you're just like,
Yeah.
I guess I just had to sit here as a stump.
Oh man, I almost have a story that I have a tangent. Just I don't know if you want to keep going. I'm just
No,
like,
no.
Well, I was just saying it's like one of the things. This almost like goes back to like if there was a question of like, oh, why did I start music? But when you talk about like not being able to sneeze or cough, one of the things I had like I had a thyroid tumor like 2015, and what
Holy
again?
shit, how old were you?
I was like 21, 22
Okay.
at that time.
Oh my god.
And that was like that. it was a year of having that, and it was like, it's your thyroid's here.
Yeah.
And for that year, it was so uncomfortable. Like, thankfully, in the end, it was not cancerous or anything. It was just a giant tumor, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or gratefully.
Yeah.
But one of the worst things was that it was so big at one point, like for like the last for a good 4 months or something. It would fuck with my muscles where it hurt to cough, it hurt to sneeze, and I couldn't yawn because I would go through the motions of yawning, and then it would
like
bulge itself, and it would hurt. So it would stop.
Oh my gosh.
It would stop my reflex of yawning.
Yeah.
And I had like 4 months of just almost. I was almost like holding in every sneeze. I was so uncomfortable on that microscopic level.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware of what it feels like to go through that.
That's fucking rough, man.
That changed my life, honestly. Like, I like low key and like jokingly but seriously, that's like, it was that point where I was like, I think I need to like, it inspired me to go into music because I was just like, I need to start creating something. Because I kind of felt mortality for at that age pretty early. It was a very good, I look back at it kind of all like positively because it was just like,
something that you conquered.
Well, not only that, but it's like people take like acid or DMT to like break their ego. Like that broke my ego because I was just like,
that's the most human experience you could have.
Closest to fearing death and like realizing that this is such a short moment of my life. And I wasn't doing I had been doing music for fun, like just playing guitar, but that was the year I was like,
damn.
I was like, I need to start. I pirated FL Studio immediately. And I was like, I need to, because I was like, I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And I'd always been putting it off. And then that moment came.
Wow.
So it's just funny that when you said like not being able to sneeze and like cough, I'm like, dude, I felt that for a year.
Damn,
like
dude.
legitimately, yeah.
Well, shit, dude, we're glad you're here. I mean, dude, health is no joke.
Sorry, it's too heavy on that.
We tell people like, I think we live in a generation of people that like don't go to the doctor often. Like, I think our parents probably went to the doctor.
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of it's a push and pull because like we're aware that we have to, but we kind of still don't.
Oh yeah.
Where I think of like my parents' generation, like my dad, he just won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He just won't. Yeah. But at least I'm like, I think I should. But health insurance.
Healthcare.
Dude, I went to the doctor this year, like in January, for the first time in like 6 years. Because I didn't, I went, and they were like, "You're good."
Okay.
And I was like, "What? Really?"
They didn't like.
I was like, I got a little punch going on. And I was talking to them, and they were like, "See you next year." And I was like,
"Wow,
all right, shit."
In the grave.
I should have, right, yeah. She's like, yeah, dude, you're fine.
We'll see once we're gonna start.
She left. I left, and she was, talking to the nurse, and she was like, "Get a load of this fucking guy. See you next year, buddy." You're fucked.
Buys the dust.
You're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, our healthcare system is crazy, and
doctors they probably do that.
That's the whole conversation.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
That's a whole ass conversation now, but yeah, I mean.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a good segue kind of to what you were saying, that timeline, right? Kind of.
Oh, I mean, okay, yeah. So, I mean,
I could expand on that, if you have something more.
Yeah, so, I mean, we can start with so this is going to be interesting because I was looking at your catalog for a while now, and I've noticed you have... You've been in the game for a while. You have shit from like 7 years ago, 10 years ago, shit as recent as a
just
few
2 months ago.
Yeah. And as an artist myself, and as we are, like we've been working on music forever, and there's so many different factors that kind of facilitate like where you go with music. Like, what is this album going to be about? Where does my direction go? I kind of want to get into some of that other stuff later, but an initial question that maybe you could answer is, how do you think Castro from 7 years ago stacks up to Castro of now? Do you think and what I mean by that is like, do you think it's more of like just like you've been improving upon the same block, or do you think that it's been like crazy breakthroughs that have like changed the facet of what you've been doing?
That's a really cool question because it's actually just in April that it's kind of like I marked that as like my music anniversary when I started. I started this
shit.
whole Castro project April 2016.
Oh, fuck.
Technically,
Okay.
I guess if you wrote earlier, it would be February 2016. But that's when I downloaded a cracked version of FL Studio.
But,
I
your
didn't
first
touch
release,
it for
yeah.
2 months. I opened it because I was too intimidating. I was scared. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I
is.
tried watching tutorials. Shout out to there's this meme YouTuber named Frank Jabc,
Sure.
and he made
Shouts out, man.
he made jokey music tutorials with FL Studio.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing because his stuff went viral, and he'd be like,
It's digestible.
well, it was just it showed me, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that you could just make music on a computer, and that blew my mind. But it wasn't until April that I was like, oh, let me make something, and finally jump in. And I still have all the stuff I'd ever made from the get go.
Wow.
I it's a personal rule that I never delete anything.
Oh, that's great.
So it's just been so fun to look back. But last April was it's now start of year 9. So it's been 9 years of this,
yeah.
or now we're in the 9th year of it, and to kind of trace the evolution of it. No, it's funny because I think it's both in that it's a linear progression in that I'm always kind of trying to just one up myself, but I think the breakthroughs come from I can almost punctuate each year by what music I discovered that year that blew my mind.
Yes,
and that literally created
No, I feel that.
a splinter in the
Yeah,
timeline.
yeah.
Where it was before. That's
exactly what I was thinking. I'm glad you
and
made the
then
timeline.
After.
Yeah.
Well, because it's just one of the things I was writing before coming to this, before doing this podcast was I wanted to write a list of just literally, I mean, it looks insane, but I wrote down as many artists as I could to just
Oh, gosh.
sort through just my thoughts, just to
Yeah.
keep
The spider web of
where I
your
kinda started.
your
Yeah.
evolution.
Because I
Yeah.
wanted to do
Yeah.
that just for myself because I was
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to.
And if you're watching, I'll make them send it to me. We'll put it on screen for a moment so you can see the madness.
that looks great.
So you can see the madness.
Yeah. No, that is a great list, and you can find a lot of inspiration on there. So
I mean, it's
hopefully we'll throw
all
it
the
up on
artists
there.
that I listened to that inspired me, but it's if you know all those artists, you can see genre where it deviates.
Brother, that's
Like
such a good
section.
way to look at things.
There's a section where it's all wave artists.
Yeah.
I remember first getting into because I think I started I'll probably go through even a timeline of it. That's cool. I'm just
Yeah.
because 2016, because I was just thinking about it this couple days, but 2016, 2017 was all lo-fi hip hop. I kind of got in through that, but weirdly enough, it was also inspired by the funk scene at the time.
Yeah.
Not the drift
Which
funk
was
scene now,
emerging,
but
Yeah.
the
new-
early stuff that came from DJ Smokey,
Yeah.
CD Air.
I
know.
love that shit. You go on my SoundCloud
Yeah.
likes, and you can tell by the years of the songs
Yeah.
you posted, that's that
And
era.
that blew my mind. And, that early era stuff, I was just whoa, I've never heard of anything like this.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started discovering dark wave, trap, wave trap sort of stuff. And I think about my favorite collective at the time. They're kind of just doing their own things individually, but they first started out as Titan Squad, and they became Titan Cult. And the members, I just each of them were just, they still to this day have such a unique sound that's different from the wave scene that kind of came from that you kind of saw from Europe and stuff and
Right.
Liverpool.
A lot of the wave shit
Yeah.
came from
Yeah.
It
But
was some
in terms
deep
of these
Europe
guys,
shit.
this is, I think one of them though, well, I don't know if that was where he's from, but there's one of the guys on Titan Cult, his name's Essex, but I don't know if that's inspired
I've seen
by
that name. Yeah.
I don't know if he's from there, but I think this other artist named Cat Slash that I was obsessed with. There's so many. There's another dude who doesn't put out music anymore, but
Yeah.
and he's known for changing his alias and deleting tracks and just. But he went by the name
Elusive.
Yeah, he went by the name Jamie Heartless, or I don't even know their gender identity. They play around with that too. So I don't know. I don't want to speak too much on them.
Yeah,
But they're
it's
so elusive.
Yeah.
But
But
they
the
went by
music is always
Jamie
fucking
Heartless,
there, yeah.
and now
Dude.
they're known as. I just want to at least shout out them because I'm
for
their
sure.
music
Yeah.
is still there, but they
what-
are not active. But
Dude, yeah, love to hear it.
I think their name is now Slovencia. It's
Yeah, you just wouldn't know.
It's
Yeah,
just
you
like
just-
Slovencia?
yeah,
Yeah.
Eastern European sounding name. But
Dude, I love that
so
so
that's,
much, man.
2017, 2018,
Yeah.
there was the producer. I mean, I don't know if you remember Ginseng. He did.
Yeah, I listen to
Ambient
Ginseng
trap-
to this day.
And it's his ambient trap era. I mean, now it's I don't know if you follow his career right now. He's doing crazy production. He's just did some stuff for Destroy Lonely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been doing like low key production, but like he's popping up on like
He's behind the scenes,
the
but
big
he's
names.
Yeah.
And
of
of course he has his band that he does with the brother Dream Ivory. They're like a super like
Oh, yeah, they've
top,
been-
like
Yeah,
dream pop
I-
band.
Ivory is.
People don't
everywhere.
know that it's the same.
I remember I have like a really old SoundCloud thing I'll have to show you later from Jin saying like 2016 era, and it was like a Yu-Gi-Oh trap card.
Yeah.
And that was like in that era of when I was listening
my
to a lot
God.
of that
That
stuff,
blew my
like
mind
my
at the
early
time.
SoundCloud stuff. When there was, it's funny because people weren't really sampling like anime back then. Now it's dude, everyone's sampling
Yeah.
anime. But I remember hearing that era of people flipping like anime songs, but kind of making them that like dark, like wave trap,
Yeah.
reverb the
heavy
fuck out.
reverb.
Yeah, like
Using
super reverb.
FL Reverb 2.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I think
just saturated, heavy on the wet.
and you know how you know it's always the FL stuff? Because early on, like, I don't remember what the plugin is called. It's one of the native FL ones, but like the beat repeat stuff. That's like
Gross Beat.
Gross beat. Yeah, gross beat.
Yeah.
You can hear all those beats before the drop doing the bam, 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 bam. And then like,
I proudly still use it.
yeah, dude. No, dude, gross beat's so good.
I mean, FL is arguably just the tied up with Ableton at this point in terms of how good.
oh yeah, for like electronic music or anything electronic based. Yeah, those are like the
bass
two.
and hip hop bass. Arguably, if you're a hip hop
Doesn't Ninth
producer, a
Wonder
lot of
use
people.
fucking FL Studio?
Well, I mean, and then even to now, because it's like when it got to like 2019, 2020, that's when I started like diversifying and realizing that I had learned a lot from doing basic production of just hip hop beats.
Yeah.
Because I had a background in like metal music and like rock music and stuff.
Love that.
And I was just like, let me tap into those influences.
Yeah.
And I kind of went deeper. And I
You
was
can hear
just
that
like,
currently.
well, and then I was like, and then the music I was discovering at the time was like hardcore punk. I was just so obsessed with like the raw DIY-ness of it that you see in hip hop.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, it's not that one is supersedes the other. It's like the same spirit is there. The same,
Oh, yeah.
like look at how we're putting on shows. These are DIY shows. How is it
Yeah.
any different from like a DIY show for like a punk scene that's like in a basement or something?
Right.
Yeah.
And like
Throw a bunch
doing
of
the
mics
same-
on.
throwing
and-
mics
Yeah.
on. We're throwing like doing whole beat sets with whatever artists that's showing up in the town.
Yeah.
To put them on.
Literally the same shit.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But I was just obsessed with that, and then it finally it was like a full circle moment because I was just like, oh, I have all the skills to like put together now a rock song when I didn't know that because I didn't know how to use the software. So then that's when
Yeah. Oh, so it's kind of easier to do the hip hop. So you could loop stuff.
Well, because
and kind of, like,
it gave me a lot of practice, and
Yeah.
I loved that music. But I was finally able to like tap into like I've been playing guitar for like 20 years.
So this was another question. It was like, was guitar your first baby?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that
Beautiful.
and saxophone at the same
Okay.
time. But that was 'cause it was
Awesome.
for school.
But then there came a point where you're like, I want to do all of it.
Oh, yeah. And
which is
I
like
had the
a point that we
skills.
come to
I
as
finally had the skills to do that.
yeah.
And that's not easy. Like I talk about that a lot, like with Snap, where I was like really weak in the drum game because I grew up playing like piano. So like chords were like the easier part, and my drum game was like fucking whack.
Just
and I feel like I barely had an
clap,
epiphany
boom,
where like my drums were like, oh dude, my drums are like dialed now. But yeah, that's that makes me want to segue because you said guitar was your first
Yeah.
baby. Maybe this will go further back. I ask everybody this: what's like your oldest music memory? It doesn't necessarily have to be like your instrument playing. It
Yeah.
could be that, but like, what's your first like maybe as a kid where you're
Intimate.
like, yeah, that you're
Oh,
like, damn,
yeah.
I love music. I'm so
like,
interested in this.
I definitely have I have a very not like I have a good memory of my own life. You know
Oh,
what I
that's
mean?
great.
It's
That's
not-
great.
memory.
Yeah, no, because it's just like it's not like it's used for anything else. It's like I'm very good with like I have so many early memories of even when I was like
That's
maybe, like, 2 or
amazing.
3. Like maybe
Oh,
they're
wow,
just,
yeah.
maybe they're just like snippets, but I'm like
I'm envious of people
'cause
that
I
have that.
remember,
Yeah.
like 'cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
moved around not a lot, but I used to live like I'm originally from the Bay Area, but it's like I used to live more in the Bay Area. I used to live like right in the middle, like in between Oakland and Berkeley. You know,
Oh, okay.
straight up in like apartments,
Yeah.
buildings of that area. You know?
Yeah.
What,
It's
is,
kinda
what do they
like-
call that? It's not the Emerald. What is that area called?
Embarcadero.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's not
it
really,
is.
but I'm just when you said with an E sound, I'm like those names are there and they're nearby. So.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know.
But what I was saying is that I remember those days at the apartment because I was there. We had moved out when I was like 4, and I have vivid memories of when we were in that apartment because it was such a cramped apartment.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple memories. Yeah, I think about the earliest ones were probably a couple of them come to mind but they're like vivid. Is one I routinely revisit this cassette. I ripped it, the audio. Like I have it. I own the cassette, but it's my dad's cassette of this Japanese guitarist named Terry Tarauchi, I think, and he played like rock classical covers. It was very bizarre, and I remember my dad loved that tape, and he also loved this one 1950s 60s band called The Ventures. They're like primo boomer rock, but I love them, and I mean they're like classic surf rock era stuff.
Yeah.
But that was the stuff my dad listened to, and I just remember
like kind of 80s era shit.
No,
pre,
it's like,
like
it's like
50s,
60s.
Yeah,
Oh, right. Yeah.
My dad's pretty old. Like he was born in the 50s, you know,
Okay.
like early 50s.
Oh, that's why you said pre. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Literal baby boomer of Japan. Well, maybe I don't know how good Japan was doing post World War II. Like,
Yeah.
their boom, they had to get back to zero.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting era to listen to.
But
music.
he was obsessed with like all like American expats sort of like media and stuff. But stuff like he was obsessed with like American rock. But he had these cassettes, and I remember just growing up, he would always listen to them in the car, and I remember like so much of that music. And I kind of went full circle. I had an EP like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, called La Playa. And I did a cover of one of the songs that I used to listen to
sweet.
called Apache, done by The Ventures. And I did a literal
that's
cover.
beautiful. Yeah.
And that was literally just for my parents. You know, I even put that on the SoundCloud. I put, this is like for my parents. And my parents, like, they love it. They replay that EP. They always say that's our favorite EP. And I'm like, yeah, it's my lowest one because no one listens to surf rock. But I made it because I loved it.
Yeah.
I had so much fun making it.
I mean,
but I'm like,
that's why we do this.
no one
you know?
is listening. They always think like that has like probably 1 million streams, right? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? The surf rock cover?
Yeah. That's a very niche pocket nowadays.
But the other memory I
done
would
out of love,
say
man.
is a lot of Michael Jackson music. I remember my parents loved Michael Jackson.
That is such a good
Yeah.
And my dad had this he had the compilation CD of This Is History.
yeah.
This is his story.
Yeah.
He had that compilation, and we would just play it in the car on repeat. And I remember just we bought the concert DVD, and I remember just a kid being like, I mean, say what you want about Michael Jackson's legacy now. I mean, it is horrifying. I mean, and it's just, but I am.
There's a lot of
separate it.
controversy around it.
Yeah. We'll talk about just the music part.
I can separate it when they're dead.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah,
like,
for
if I
sure.
were to put a
Yeah.
take, I'm like, I can separate art from an artist when they die.
Yeah.
Because they're not here anymore to do damage. If
Yeah.
they did, I'm not trying to make any heads or tails.
Damage and or defend themselves. It's
defend.
like
I'm
whatever,
just like
take
they're
the
gone.
music. Yeah.
They have the music, and that's going to be an artifact
Yeah.
for history.
Yeah, Michael Jackson.
I mean,
I don't support anyone actively being bad, but I'm just like when I think
mean-
about
yeah. No, yeah, Michael, dude, I mean, his music has inspired.
But it was such a big influence. I was just like
just pop music
so
of that
down.
era.
I was so amazed by it. I remember I couldn't believe even as a kid, it blew my mind.
I mean,
Yeah.
to this day, it's like very. To this day, it's very unrivaled, man.
Oh my god!
It's
crazy.
like in terms of pop music like that, it's very unrivaled.
I think my favorite thing about kind of becoming an artist or becoming a musician is you get to have an appreciation of the deeper. It's not because I feel like regular people, not to make a distinction, but it's they just know Michael Jackson. But they think as artists, the guy who did all the guitarists on Thriller was the guy from Toto.
Yeah.
Right.
And he wrote all the riffs.
Yeah.
It's not, and then people talk about, and then it's Eddie Van Halen did the solo on Beat It. And the guitars for Toto did the riffs. And it's such a good fucking riff.
Yeah. And that's one of those things you don't know unless you dive in.
And that made me I was just like,
Yeah.
this is amazing, And then you hear all the stories of Quincy Jones being simply being a guy to I need to get the best people. He's scoping out he had an ear to the ground. I'm I need the best people to come together.
people producing in that era.
I love
what's
that
funny?
environment.
You know what I always like to bring up because people always have this weird distinction when they hear people that are producers that don't realize what a producer was in
Back
the
then, It's
60s,
changed a
the
lot.
70s.
It was a guy who didn't even play anything.
Yeah, and weird tangent, we don't have to get into it. I saw people giving Rick Rubin the other day a bunch of flack for that, and it's dude, do you realize the shit Rick Rubin has
And he
produced?
did also make music too.
But he gets a lot of flack from people being like, "Oh, this guy just has his name on everything."
Yeah.
It's no, I don't think you realize someone
What
that's a
role he
producer
played,
was
yeah.
the role of you.
Just guiding what the project.
Yeah,
would be.
dude, this guitar player is great. This drummer is great. Play this. Play that.
and it's play it like this.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of people misunderstand. Hopefully, I think a lot of people watching this probably already understand.
They're on the artist side.
But if you're watching this and you're not an artist, being a producer
Yeah.
at that time, it's not some dude you see now making beats. You're like, oh, this guy's a producer. It's
yeah.
And in the modern age, you see people like DJ Khaled, and people are like, "Fuck that guy," but it's like, dude, he was literally.
He's doing the classical version.
Yes,
of what a
yes,
producer
and people were like, DJ Khaled
He's
just
a
yelled.
classical
Okay, I'm not
producer.
endorsing DJ Khaled by any means
Yeah.
because he's a character,
the
but
best.
I'm saying like when people would see like, what does this guy do? That's what he was doing. He was getting the beat makers. He was
Yeah.
getting the artists.
Getting the right
and saying,
artists. He was funding the projects.
Yeah, yeah, and
he made sure everyone got
and-
paid.
And dude, producing at that time was just like such a different thing.
And I will say though, I do have some beef with Rick Rubin in the sense that I do hate how flowery he is with this like, oh, I don't know anything, and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, he's kind of
like,
trolling with that.
And I get
He's
it,
kinda
but I
trolling,
hate.
yeah.
I think not what he does, but I hate how much like because I watched the interview with like he did with like Anderson Cooper, and Anderson Cooper's just eating
Oh
this.
my God.
He's
Well-
eating this shit up, being like, "What? You
Well,
mean
I
you don't
think-
even know how to play a note?" And he's like, "That's crazy." And Rick Rubin's just like, he's like, "Yes, in my seat," and I'm just like.
Yeah,
I
you're-
hate both of you because
you're
you're being
super-
corny
you're
and you're
super
eating this
troll.
up because you don't understand
very
anything.
fair. The fact that he went on Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
that is
I-
pretty troll.
Yeah,
It is,
that is-
but I'm just annoyed by it because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
for
like
him to
dude,
be like,
dude,
yeah, I don't know anything.
You know, you have a vast amount of knowledge, but he's like,
his catalog is so.
I mean,
like,
dude, if he's talking to the Anderson Cooper crowd, then like,
yeah, they're gonna believe it. They're gonna think
he knows what he's doing with
Yeah.
he
that.
doesn't
It's
even,
like, you know,
wow, he doesn't even play a note. I'm like, he does. Like,
Yeah.
shut up. He is very much like you look at
Oh,
the
he's
liner
capable.
notes
Yeah.
of like. Anything pre 2000s, it's like he's very much a
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
He produced, like, literally did like
Oh,
the
yeah,
beats for
dude.
like Beastie Boys. Like he was
Yeah,
in charge of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
He,
he
does
was-
know how to do
yeah.
shit.
This makes me want to ask too, just to segue a little bit as we're talking about producers, maybe production, and kind of get into your own production. We briefly talked about this the other day. This is my beat. Shouts out Alejandro.
Yes, this might be basically introduced me to everything.
Yes, yeah, we wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for that. But what I wanted to ask was, we were talking about kind of like drum programming, because I don't remember, we heard someone doing this, I don't remember, maybe someone on the Open Aux, and like shit was like really swinged out.
Okay.
And we were talking about it, and I was kind of talking about how
Yeah.
mine is kind of like played and then loosely quantized, and you were like, oh, I plug my...
I click everything in.
Yeah, so kind of...
and I shift it all individually.
Yeah, kind of expand upon that drum groove, because
Yeah.
I think that's almost like the anti like hip hop, like you
have
know,
to play it out and like feel
yeah,
the swing to it.
Yeah, but I love I draw stuff in sometimes too, and sometimes you get crazy sounds out of
Yeah.
drawing stuff in. So like, what's kind of your methodology of doing that?
Well, I like drawing stuff in. One, because that's how I started, and I did not have a MIDI controller.
Oh, so you
and
were just
there was a
clicking.
lot of latency that I didn't like when using like my keyboard. Because there are people who play out the drums like with their keyboard. There's a little bit of like a latency that I just don't feel comfortable with. It screws up my timing.
Yeah.
Especially certain controllers, you'll.
Yeah. Well, I've
they'll
played.
fuck
I
everything
remember
up.
borrowing a friend's MIDI controller, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So there's no latency when you have. But I didn't want to buy a MIDI controller. I had learned like, oh no wonder people can play out drums because
okay.
I thought all things had that like latency.
The intro one.
Like you're going
Yeah.
like this, and it's just
And
like a
then
little
and then
bit late.
and you feel it. Like it's not noticeable when you hear it, but you feel it, and it
Yeah.
really screws up the.
Yeah, if it's
groove.
not responsive.
Yeah, but so that's why that's why I was like, oh, I'll just click everything in. And so what I would practice with was because my drum started out just being like, I didn't understand. Like I had a good internal sense of rhythm just from playing music for so long, but I think I had to learn hip hop grooves and all that. And what I would do is I would just copy the same rhythms from my favorite beat makers. You know,
Okay.
I literally would hear the swing and I would just click it in, and I'm just like,
Okay.
and I would turn off any quantizing and just like feel where it, and then just get a feel of what it looks like on the grid, and then just keep practicing with that. And now I just know how it feels when I like click
Interesting.
things in.
No, yeah,
then playing around
That's
with
a
the-
great method
Yeah.
because it's
Oh,
you take the blueprint.
Yeah.
You kind of you need it's like learning an equation.
Yeah.
You need to
You
learn
have to-
like what.
you have to
fucking
see how
1
it's
plus
done.
1 equals.
Yeah.
And then once you get that, after a while, then you can start to fuck around with the decimals of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And to
You
get
know.
like real nerdy about it, I feel like the kick and snares maybe are a little bit easier to get the...
I guess my sort of behind the curtains thing, I keep my kick and snare literally on 1, 2. Like,
Oh, the hi-hat
at least
is kind of what swinged out?
the hi-hat is what always gives me swing. And then I will say on the fundamental beats, like if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and just keep, if your words just quarter notes, I keep kick, there's a kick, snare on the 1, 2, 3, 4. and then everything in between is clicked in and then adjusted to give swing. But I make sure.
You know what's crazy? You know what that reminds me of? I don't remember what interview this is. Pharrell talked about doing some of his like beats that he does plug in some of the stuff. He'll say like, oh, the snares are all on the grid, but like the kicks and hats.
That's where you can have fun, and that's what gives you the. Because I put the philosophy of this, it's like you need to have some rhythmic center. Yeah. Like there has to be something that's
consistently
consistent.
Yeah.
Because that's what's gonna it gives structure, and then when you can mold around it, then you're gonna get like the swing.
That's when you get the syncopation of everything for sure.
But I will say though, I do have a lot of fun. I have a couple of beats that I have experimented with where I'm like, I make sure there's no quantization, there's nothing. I'll click in when the kick hat snare, all of that, and I make it loop. Like I just make it loop.
Yeah,
that's it.
So that way, just at the end of
I'll chop off whatever excess is there, and then just copy paste perfectly on grid. Yeah. So at least.
So then, is the rest of the project just has no?
But no, I think what he's saying is like it circles back to it'll sound.
I'll have that in the BPM, yeah.
But then, like right at the end of the loop, it
loops
catch.
Back to be on.
Yeah, so it's like
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Very off.
It's almost like every 16th beat is all
Yeah.
random, but from the 1 to the 16,
it does kind of come back. Okay.
4 of the 16.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So that's really fun. But that's, I think, like the advanced stuff. Of
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think there's a lot of beat makers that kind of think that they just have to, I don't know, kind of just throw anything at the wall.
Sure.
I think I say beat makers and beginner beat maker because I was just someone had I posted I did like the DiBiase like flip challenge, and someone messaged me.
The recent one?
Yeah, and someone had messaged me like, oh, how do you do like swing on drums? And I kind of broke it down from them. I'm just like start from the ground up, like you know, because he was just like, I'm just kind of like it sounds
like a new beat,
sounds like
newer.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's like a fucking mind fuck.
That's probably one of. I mean, that's like
you take for granted.
That's
like,
one of the harder things of like making beats is like getting a swing,
understanding time signature and swing.
Yeah, but even just like the swing to get it to loop right, and I do agree that someone starting out, when you hear these like swinged out beats, you're like, what the fuck? Because you probably made a beat and quantized it at 100, and you're like, this sounds so stale. Like, why is my beat like going? You know, like, why is it not like swinged out?
Yeah,
like
we've definitely been there in the beginning of like.
I think everyone
and
is.
And then trying to swing your own beat, and you're like, dude, this sounds just like garbage because it like the swing isn't like molded in a way where it's like hitting the beat right. It's just like it's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
I think I gained a lot from. I was really thankful. Like it was so funny. Like when I got into doing beats and stuff. I had thought that all like my years doing like band class and like jazz band was like not for nothing, but I was like, where's that gonna come back? And I was like, wow, I actually have an internal sense of swing now. Yeah. Like
that's a great
part
fundamental.
of the rhythm band section. I played guitar for the rhythm.
That is actually a great thing that you had.
Literally next to the drummer who was man, I think this is such a crazy like I think about the people I grew up with and it's just so crazy. I look at the people who like pursued music. There's one guy, the jazz drummer in my high school. He's part of this really big metalcore band.
Oh wow!
And
usually the jazz dudes do go towards that.
He started off as a metal guy, but he was just such a good drummer. Yeah. But the band is. I mean, I've shouted.
They get into like mathcore.
I don't even say it where it's just like, oh, they know. I only knew him for that year that I played, but it was so cool to just like look back and just see people on like Facebook. And I'm like, oh my god, he has an actual career. Like he is a touring like he's part of this band called Kingdom of Giants. Oh, nice. They got like 300,000 monthly.
Shouts out Kingdom.
They got like an insane catalog. They've been around since like 2011. He was in there since he was in high school. You know.
Yeah.
But seems like a Bobby Bray type of band.
I was just like, I didn't realize like, 2 years of that literally behind me. The guy's doing every swing rhythm possible, every shuffle rhythm. Yeah. And I was like, I had that like built in. Like it clicked so quickly when I finally put it onto a DAW. Yeah. That's why I'm able to click it in, I think.
That's a good
not to say there's anything special.
It's a good foundation to
it was a foundation that I think some people kind of
a lot of people don't
forget.
Drums are hard, dude. Like you can sit there and study like music theory and get really good at theory, but like if your drums aren't swinging, like if your drums aren't,
you can have like the best chords, but it's like the rhythm is.
Yeah, like if your shit.
I think I look back just like being a guitarist, like when you're there's the same similar like analogy where it's like when you're a young guitarist, you want to play the best solo, you want to do the best sweep picking, all this sort of stuff, and like shred.
Yeah, those all
but
I
then
wanted.
when you
That's all I
finally grow
wanted.
up, you want to be the best rhythm guitarist because they're writing all the riffs.
Yeah.
Like
the riff is the body.
Scott Ian from Anthrax had said, like, you grow up wanting to be Angus Young of AC/DC, who's doing all the solos and doing all like the bombastic shit, but then you grow up and realize Malcolm Young, his brother, is writing all the riffs. Like all the memorable riffs of Back in Black is like from one guy, and it's Malcolm Young. And
The four
he's
major
just doing
chords,
like the four major chords, and he's
the
rocking
1 5 4
fuck
5
out of them.
Yeah.
You realize all the best. Like I think of all my favorite like.
riff writing. You know what?
That's what I love about hardcore punk is like
that's
the best fucking riffs I've
That's
ever
the
heard.
backbone of any song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's not the solos.
It is
you know?
kind of like
it's not
a
the showy shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the showy shit is like
That you
just,
hear for like 45 seconds.
yeah, just a touch to it, which and some people do listen to it for that. But like you said, man,
You know-
if you want to get credits on a song, you're writing the motherfucking
You're writing the
riffs,
riffs,
dude.
yeah.
I mean-
for sure.
Cough, Polyphia being like an obscene perversion of
Yeah.
bringing shred guitar back.
Love
As much as I
Polyphia.
respect Tim Henson and what they do, and like Scott LePage and stuff, I'm
Yeah.
just like they're being praised for something that I don't think is as valuable as what so much of what other guitarists have kind of contributed.
Well, yeah, and-
as much as I love the music,
Well,
I
to
love
speak
their
on that, dude,
style.
because I love Polyphia.
Yeah.
But something.
Like, no
to
words
speak
disrespect,
of-
but I'm just like
No. I get
there's
what you're
something
saying.
there's something getting now lost
But a
where
big
now
part
people
of
are
it-
doing like very lead guitar sort of stuff. I'm like, what happened to like good
Yeah.
riffs?
But a big part of it too is like
Yeah.
you know what's interesting you mentioned about the riffs is a lot of the stuff Tim Henson is doing. He's like chopping up the guitars in Ableton.
Yeah.
So like
he'll write out stuff
the
in
solo
MIDI.
that like he plays. Like to be tracked is not what you hear on the record because he's sitting there in Ableton like nerd like us like clicking like moving this note over
chopping
here
these
like
things
and
over,
then
fucking-
relearning the solo.
That's true.
Like
Yeah.
so it's kind of the like
It's a new way to doing it,
technology
yeah.
meeting like that like prog metal
Yeah.
prog rock where like usually like
Tech meets prog.
older like prog
You kind
bands
of
math
start by
rock
being
bands
technically like already fine, you know.
yeah well and he is but yeah I get what you
Yeah,
mean
they
like
start from there without, and then I don't even think they would dabble like with that. But yeah, I mean, I remember Tim Henson saying that he would write solos out and write out riffs in MIDI and make it as crazy, and then just teach himself to like redo it.
Yeah.
So that's why they sound crazy.
Well,
but
that's
I'm like,
like
I think there's kind of a weird
on
art
Playing
that gets
Gods,
lost.
like one of the
Yeah.
weird parts, like the arpeggiator section was like he said in an interview he played it on the omnichord, and then like transposed it
Wow.
onto guitar, like so that's why it doesn't sound super guitar. It sounds like electronic, but he's like, no, I actually played it, but I played it on an omnichord first.
funny.
And then just took the arp and played it on guitar, and that's why you see his hands doing all this crazy shit because it wasn't made for guitar. But anyways, that's a funny little tangent.
Well, Castro, this is getting to the part where I really wanted to ask
yeah,
you
I'm
some
wasting
shit.
anything.
Because I've been a fan of yours. Honestly, this is my most favorite episode to record because I feel like your music synergizes a lot with mine. So like I feel like a little kindred there. And I wanted to ask because your latest project, Ascura, is like right up my fucking alleyway. It's right up my fucking field, dude.
Thank
And
I appreciate that a lot.
and you know, I rinsed that like a few times in a row, and I just was really enamored by it. And I remember seeing in your you kind of like made a little thesis about it, like
yeah, I
saying
always
that
like to write
saying
about
that you
projects.
and I love that about that. And you were saying that it's been like a project that's taken a little bit over a year to like get these 6 songs together. I'm really curious, like as opposed to your other projects, and like to kind of put these 6 cohesive songs together, like what's your mindset around like when you get into the zone of making something like this? Because as opposed to your other songs, this is like a pretty
There's a very specific like goal.
The
there's
curation of it.
yeah,
of
there's
your
a
songs,
specific
so-
goal. There's a specific curation, and I could tell you were really passionate about this one. So I just kind of wanted to pick your brain about that a little bit.
Well, I think to kind of pull back on like the curation process of it, it's like, you know, I'm like writing music almost every day, you know, whether just putting together a beat or something, you know, every other day or something. And, you know, I kind of let my creativity just run wild every day. You know, I don't go in expecting anything. Like, it could be a 4-bar loop. It could be just like a really shitty chopped up like sample or something. Or, you know, or I usually wake up, you know, when I say wake up in the morning, I wake up at like noon or 1, you know, like, and I'll usually, sometimes it's either sometimes I'll have a melody, sometimes I'll have like a riff on the guitar. So that just will be my day of just like following whatever, you know, intuition there is. Sometimes I feel like I want to chop beats today because I heard a crazy, you know, beat tape from, you know.
Yeah, you take inspiration when it comes to you. You don't, I love that. I noticed that.
And then, so what I'll do is that after like, when songs start happening, I'll kind of like, I'll notice if there's the sort of like barometer is like, if I notice there's like 2 or 3 songs that start to follow like a trend, like within the pile of songs that I've made.
Right.
Then I'll like, I'll take them aside, put them in like a fold. I'll like make a new
compartmentalize
folder,
it.
and then just like see them like, oh, is there something? And what I do like, often, I do this for every project, and it's a fun like little thing I do. And I open up a Word document and I write notes about the project.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Even before it's like
fruition.
In fruition, it's just me. Like, I literally like will make notes like I put like what's the date, and I'm like, I'll make notes about what are the songs that I have. I'm like, I have 3 songs here, and I'll put like liner notes of just like they're kind of dark wave trap, and I'm like, and I'll even like write notes to myself. I'm like, expand on this. Mm-hmm. See where this goes, and like maybe there's like a sound, like because there seems to be something here.
Kind of create a theme, like verbally.
Exactly. You know, and
match.
then what I do is like I start writing titles that like sound cool. It sounds.
Oh, dude, no, I love that. I do the same
it's like
thing.
One of my favorite little things to do is even when a project has only like 2 or 3 songs in it, because that has like 6 or 7.
You had 6, yeah.
And like, I think I started with just 2. Like, I remember the notes. I started with just 2, and I was already just like, I love the direction this is already going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm already writing title names. And I'm like writing.
Yeah. Dude, that's kind of half of the fun, dude. Because
I'm writing moody adjectives.
The title really gives like an essence to the music, you know, and same with your like cover art too. You know, it's like you've done a good job of like putting a good cover, like
oh yeah, a lot of attention goes into it.
This cover to the name of the songs, to how it feels like it's a cohesive unit, you know, like which. I feel like that's a testament to your ability to tap into not only like identifying like the genre that you're like okay, these 6 songs are like they mold together, but it's like what are the words for them?
Something big,
like what like how do you say what this is, and you're really good at that, man.
Well, it came with practice and time, but it's like it's so weird. I almost look at it where like it reveals itself. It sounds so corny, and I hate how it's sometimes kind of referred like the artist's like experience and process. But it's like in doing it, it like uncovers itself. Like those songs like all come together. Like when I had 3, 4, and I'm just like, whoa, it's like showing me what the direction is getting there, you know.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to titling and stuff, I just have fun because I have a lot of like Spanish influence and Japanese now. I had that last project. It was called Jigoku, which is like a metal, my little hardcore metal EP, you know. But because I, finally discovered like a bunch. I started listening to a bunch of Knocked Loose, and I was like, wow, this is the greatest music. And then I was like listening to others like smaller bands. I was just like, oh my god, like hardcore punk is like the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And oh my god, there's the channel, YouTube channel Hate 6. I think is like the best like YouTube channel for like hardcore punk scene. Like the guy's like, he's so cool. I mean, like he's doing so much. I mean, a lot of stuff with like, banging the drum for like Palestine and stuff. But it's like on, it's
fuck yeah, dude.
He's just like really embodies a lot of like the spirit of like what kind of punk like kind of came from and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was saying is that it's like I named it like Oscura because it's just like I took like 4 semesters of Spanish, and it's like because I really wanted to learn Spanish because I was like, oh, I live in Southern California, I might as well.
Yeah, could help.
When I was working at my job when I moved to San Diego, I was working at a grocery store, and like everyone spoke Spanish, and I felt like I was such an odd one out. I was just like, oh, I forgot that everyone in the there's reality of like the workforce is like
and like
a lot
SoCal,
of,
especially San Diego.
Southern California is like
I feel
and I'm like, wow, and I felt like I was like, oh, it'd be a missed opportunity to not like I don't know, like learn and try, you know, instead of just having a silent conversation. You know?
Yeah.
Good on you, man. Because I'm so disgraced.
That's why
in
there's
that
a
regard.
lot of like. That's why there's like I've named my project La Playa and like Oscura and like.
Oh yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, I had to say, man, Oscura was like everything that I currently resonate with heavily, and I think you nailed that as a project. And I just wanted like a little follow-up question on that too, which is kind of this style of music that you have is kind of adjacent to like what was giving you a lot of success in this and like the bigger Spotify scene. For instance, dude, like in essence, I can't go a day without like scrolling
a TikTok or
fucking like YouTube Reels or Instagram or like shorts without hearing in essence in the back of a video being like you were in control of what you want. You just have to want it, like like the most.
Oh my god! I have the funniest.
And then like your song is playing in the background of like a ton of these videos.
Million, literally.
And, like and this was like I was aware of this before I even knew you, and then to like put the face to the like. It's
I think I had mentioned that. Remember, I was like, dude, Castro. I was like, dude, that's the guy that had that viral
that song.
And then you were like, oh shit, wait, that dude's like popping up at This Is My Beat and shit. Like what a small.
Just to like kind of set the record on that. Like,
so I just wanted to get into like kind of like that whole realm of like I'm sure that must have been a trip for you to like
let's hear about that.
Some success.
I'd love to share a little bit of that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Well, it's just so funny. I always like to set the record straight where I'm just like, because I've just scratched the surface into going like to local shows and tapping into local scene, both in LA, the beat scene, and San Diego. And like, I am such a, like, I don't know. There's like that line in what was it, in like Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, "You're scum. You're lower than scum."
Yeah, you're lower than scum.
Where I'm just like, I am just a regular dude. I had one viral hit. I am trying, and it's like it's a part of my catalog, part of my song, it's part of my history, and I'm so grateful for it. But it's like I do all these other stuff, and I always carry myself as like I'm a guest here. Like I'm not trying to like show up and be all like, look at me.
I'm the guy that did.
I'm the guy, and I'm like, no, please, I want you to almost divorce whatever idea you had, and I want to show up to and meet you.
Because as soon as that feeling comes, unfortunately, with the online world, is like you can get that for one moment and then release another project, and that's just like,
and I have that so many times. I've literally you got
to be I like that. I like that.
In between that project, the project was called Baron. That came out in 2018. I was like 2.5 years into doing music, like super early in this, but somehow, like the gods like blessed me in that time. But the cool thing about that, and was a good lesson, was like that didn't get success until 6 years later. Like, and I literally in between that, I put out like 20 projects.
Right.
So I had 6 years of having 0 monthly listeners. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Of course, that with virality comes a lot of change. But I'm just like, I remember like 8 years of my career being like 1,000 monthly listeners, 1,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I hit like 10,000 plays in a year.
Yeah, same.
So, and that was like 6 years of that. So I'll never forget where I'm just like, and again, I think the beauty of like having like 1% more cognizance of virality is I am so glad to have seen all the people crash and burn before me who try to cash in on insane viral moments.
Oh my
who
God.
change up everything. I'm not. Yeah.
Oh my God. I've
you
seen
think
so
of
many.
like the worst.
You know how hard you
could
have milked that song, dude? That song, you could have milked that shit. Like, dude, I see people.
That's great.
We'll mention it off camera, but I've seen someone do this that like. It's one song.
Yeah, it's just one song.
There's like 30, 40 of his own videos of using that, like,
just milk.
Here's me doing this. Here's my piano teacher reacting to me doing this. And it's like,
and it's just like, I look at it where I'm like, I thank my lucky stars. I'm so glad I had a full, like, 20 project catalog that had, like, that gets no plays. That was stuff that I loved making.
It got to give at least a little bit of shine to,
and it never, because like, someone had asked me at work, they were just like, oh, like, would you, like, how, like, wouldn't it be cooler if it, like, happened when it, like, the time you come out, like me 2 years into doing music, no, I would have probably destroyed my career. Like,
Sure, yeah,
I would have
because
not
you're
known what to
just
do.
too naive to understand.
I would have not known anything. I probably would have signed a deal that would have been horrible. And I had many deals that come to me when that song was starting to blow up that I'm so thankful I never took. Like
360s all the way
yeah, well,
around.
I think of one. I think of the people because now the name of the game is just buy out one song.
Right.
I remember one offer. Like again, I never took it because I was so glad I was working a job that I was like, it's paying more than what you're offering. But they wanted to buy in essence for $2,000.
That's
outright.
fucking
They were like,
crazy.
"We'll pay you out $2,000."
What a low ball.
And I'm like, first of all,
And
that
we
song,
own your
yeah,
ass
we
for
own,
2K,
yeah, we
dog.
own
Out of your
and not to
fucking
say,
mind.
not they don't own me as like a label, but it's
Right.
like they own that whole song
Yeah.
in perpetuity
$2,000.
for $2,000.
Dude, that
And
is
I look it back and
that's
I'm like,
insulting, actually.
and I'm just like, thank God I wasn't desperate.
Yeah.
Like, thank God I
And
wasn't.
yeah, if you were younger and like
yeah.
more naive.
So that's
in
why
the
I'm just
game,
like,
yeah.
I thank my lucky
it came
stars
at a
that,
good time.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm so glad to have taken my time in doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That's-
curious
that's
though,
great, man.
with that? Just like a little side one. I don't want to spend too much time on this part of it, but like, how did you know when it started popping off?
You know,
Like, was it from Spotify? People coming from that, or were you hearing it on? How did you know? That you're
Okay.
like, oh shit, this is getting a
There
lot
was,
of
like-
traction.
it was like in two tiers. One of them was just seeing it pop up like just on like the Spotify for Artists app. I was just like, oh, that song's like popping up. And then I noticed that, oh, it was popping up like Eastern Europe. Shout out to Eastern Europe. You know,
Yeah.
They are the
Dude,
greatest, like,
the Europeans
you are
get the
holding it
music
down.
first. We love you
are
so
holding it
much.
Down.
Yeah.
You're the reason that Bones is like has 10 million monthly followers.
Fuck
like,
yeah,
you
dude.
made him. Yeah, I'm just like all the underground like acts like
Dude.
Suicide Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Dude, the
all, like, the
Europeans get
greatest.
music early. Like they
Yeah.
just have a meant like a 2-year.
What's so crazy is that they like are already obsessed with it. Like
Yeah.
when it comes out,
yeah.
people in America have to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out and like after the fact. but,
Yeah, they gotta wait till they're popular. Europeans are like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for the new shit.
I'm looking for the newest shit.
Yeah.
and I love that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I noticed that. And I'm
I've
like, okay.
noticed that
I just
for
noticed
sure.
that there's like, okay, it's just big in like Eastern Europe and like all these countries because like they were, you know, that song is being used for like a lot of anime edits,
okay.
AMVs and stuff. Which
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
thankful for.
You see
YouTube.
those ones where the camera's like,
Yeah.
and then it's like
And
doing the cut.
then, this is where the second thing happened. Again, it's so weird to look at like how the world is, but it's like weirdly enough, I almost look at my success in a retrospective where COVID. I have to thank COVID because
I mean,
that brought
yeah.
the rise of podcasting.
Right.
And then that brought the rise of people using podcast clips on TikTok. And that brought the
and
rise
then
of
put
their songs.
That
in
was
the background
that was
of
the
that.
fucking
Literally,
shifts, dude,
that's
for
where
sure.
You had already
Yeah.
like this just general growth from being popular on like Eastern European like
Yeah.
YouTube AMVs, anime,
Yeah.
edits, to then this exponential jump when podcasts become the next biggest
Yeah.
is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right now.
But what, so, but
And it was
just,
crazy. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was literally
Yeah.
like I would have days at work where I'm just like why am I here?
yeah. But
I knew to like.
But still, was it just mostly like when you're looking at the Spotify artist page that you were finding out that it was blowing up, or were you seeing the videos
I
like
then
in
looked it
real
up.
time?
I would look it up on,
or-
and then after like just a couple months of just seeing like how big it was, I would just look my name up on TikTok,
Yeah.
and just see what sounds, and I'd see in essence like, and I'm like, whoa, there's 10,000.
you get the
there's
breakdown.
Yeah.
10,000 videos.
Bro, like I was saying, man,
That's crazy.
there's almost not a day where I don't hear in essence. Like I'm not kidding.
Bro, even the bodybuilding community.
Yeah, they love it.
No,
I
dude.
love them all.
The like the
the
Sigma,
alpha-
Alpha Sigma shit.
I-
Yeah,
You
dude.
see some dude just
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
that's
you
just
know,
playing in
I
the
had
background.
people
You know,
comment-
I always want to be like, do you know who the fuck made this beat, dude?
And I'm
It's my
like,
fucking,
it's so
it's
funny
fucking
because, and I'm like,
Castro,
I love it
dog.
all because like I'm so thankful for it because like in the end,
Yeah.
you know, they're the
Hey,
people that are like
man, yeah.
letting me live like this life.
Yeah, yeah.
At least for the
Fuck
time
yeah.
being of like where I can really pursue music and just like, I don't know, like kind of live how I want to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that I have, you know, coming out of like college and stuff where I thought I was gonna do electrical engineering. Like no. But what I was saying is that it's so funny. I love that because I'll get like comments and messages from people like, this is like I'll get messages and it warms my heart so much because they'll be all like I hit my goal weight. I finally lost weight thanks to your song. Like,
Oh, you're like
and I'm
sick.
just like,
You're probably in the
you
gym
like
with your shit.
I'm
dude,
like
which
I
is
can't believe
like the
someone like
highest
made their life
highs.
better just because of this. Well, I've maintained like alcoholism. I'm like
You're like
someone is like
you're like drinking a beer. You're like, dude,
yeah.
sick.
Someone is like, dude,
sick, dude.
I turned
Hell
my
yeah.
life around. I quit drinking. I exercise every day. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna cheers to that.
yeah, you're like, sick, dude.
That's
I love
hilarious,
that, man. Thanks.
That's an amazing
and
turn
I
of
think
events.
this is one thing I was about to bring up, like
Yeah.
funniest thing. Oh man, this came up recently. If you want to, anyone can look this up. But my song showed up in in a Cody Ko video.
Oh, I'm a fan. I love Cody Ko.
He was reacting to not Sigma like grind set. It was like Sigma grind set like TikTok. He was reacting with Brittany Broski.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. It was like some like dudes that are like.
I don't even know how to describe the genre. They were like, doing financial Sigma grind set videos.
Yeah.
And they did a whole compilation, and they were doing it for Cody Ko reaction.
Yeah.
And I was so crazy. I knew when I saw that video come out, I was just like, it's going to be in there. I know it. And I comb through the video, and I see one of them they were reacting to with my song in it. I can say it verbatim. It's not really. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but it's just it's so funny. It's like the TikTok. It's the guy going like, he's like, so. And then my song in the background, you know, and they're watching it. They're just like, where's he going with this? And he's just like, so all 2,000 years of history, we've had human slavery. You know, they work day and night, 24/7. Most horrific, you know, human rights, you know, problem.
Oh my God.
You know, but they were able to work 365 days until they died. And I'm thinking to myself, I can do the same.
Oh my God, dude.
And I'm just, and then they cut it there. They're like, he's bringing up human slavery of like, of all of humanity, like chattel slavery, Egyptian.
Yeah.
And he's just like, look at them grind. And I was like, wow, my song has hit barriers that I never even knew existed.
Yeah, man.
And it was to see it in the Cody Ko video. I mean, they're not. Thankfully, I'm so glad that no one is like ripped into the song. Like, it's not been known for that because it's used for so many stuff.
Nobody.
Everyone kind of
loves the music.
It's just in service of the TikTok.
It's the conduit of like what
they're trying to do.
what it sells a lot. It's the conduit of what it sells a lot of the
trying
time.
to say that slavery means that you have a good work ethic.
You know, a lot of times there's some weird videos attached to it, and I see that shit. I'm like, dude, why is
I was so
on
more
here?
tickled with the fact that it made its way like. Just you go to 6 years ago, me. I don't even know if Cody Ko existed like 7 years ago, and
barely. He was still on Vine.
He was still doing. You know, and it's just like I'm now watching, knowing and being a fan of Cody Ko, and seeing my own music show up. In something that he's reacting to.
Crazy.
And I'm like, where did
hey, shout out Cody Ko. I've been following you forever.
Tight Meat Gang.
Gotta say,
I'm just like
TMG, baby.
I'm
Love
just
you,
like,
Noel.
how did that like? I'm trying to trace the line, and it doesn't make sense.
That's fucking
weird.
And I love that. I just love how that's what has made it so fun.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? We have a big Kamiata fan in the house.
Say what's up, Keith.
Yo, really?
You know,
man.
Just say what's up, bro. They can hear you. We'll pull it from the phone.
Keith showed me Kamiata a few years ago, and I became like a big fan. I was like, dude, this shit's fire.
Midnight Society.
Yeah.
Yeah,
dude. And then hearing the remix that you did, it was like one of your SoundCloud like top
Tale of the
tracks,
Ghost,
man.
yeah.
Man, dude, that shit hits. It just I'm trying to find a way to lead the question, but I'm just like, man, like you have such a good way to like, you know, switch your genres up where it's like you kind of you can facilitate that trap vibe and like utilize the vocals of it and you know, to switch your shit up a little bit while utilizing somebody who's like kind of up and coming and everything.
Well, that's so funny.
I thought that song was fucking amazing and
appreciate it.
You know, yeah.
But to kind of talk about the song a little bit, it's so funny. Like that history of that song is like, I like one of the things I wrote down was like, I've always had in my back of my head of like, what's my Mount Rushmore of like what got me into producing, and it's Lil Ugly Mane because Mr. Thug. I heard that for the first time and it blew my mind. Space Ghost Perp because Raider Clan also blew my mind. I mean, Space Ghost Perp is a crazy ass dude, but I respect everything he's ever done. You know.
Yeah.
Even his tweets, even though he's talked about like
says some weird shit, but
it's like I'll kill everyone.
Yeah, but the Raider Clan shit, like that
forever.
Even like pre-ASAP Rocky, like,
Scrim from the Suicide Boys, because I'm a huge Suicide Boys fan. You know, it's like they got me into music. You know, people kind of go back and forth, like if they're corny, edgy, wherever the fuck. I don't care. They got me into
fuck
music,
with it.
You know?
Yeah. Who cares?
And then the Virus and Antidote, one dude, by the way, from Midnight Society.
Yeah.
He is.
Shouts out,
he's
kid knows
on
what's up over
that
here.
Mount Rushmore. Because I remember he put out a song with Bones called "Rest in Peace" in 2015, late 2015, before I started producing, and it changed my world. Like I had never heard one. That was when I was just starting getting into trap beats. You know, when I was just starting getting to like I was already getting to like early 2012, 2011, even 2010, even like Chief Keef, like Chicago drill trap. You know, I would, and then I was like, oh, Atlanta trap, and then all this stuff, and then I'm like, there's underground shit, and then Memphis hip hop blew my mind. Even though that's not necessarily full trap, but it's like the precursor.
Yeah.
And then I'm learning about the SoundCloud seed, and then I hear the Virus and Antidote, and it was the greatest music I'd ever heard. The greatest like production.
Love that.
Yeah.
It was so from the get-go, he was already having this unique identity with sound. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then from Virus and Antidote, I learned about his collective Midnight Society that he co-founded with Kamiata. I think Kamiata was the full founder, but then he got Virus and Antidote because they were like working on stuff like neck and neck. Like he was always rapping on his stuff. And then I remember like when Tale of a Ghost from, because there's like 4 versions of Tale of a Ghost. Yeah. Oh man, Adult Swim. That's a classic one. That has like OG. Like that was produced by Dutchman, who's amazing still. I mean, I'm so glad that a lot of them still are active. Like Kamiata has branched off, and I think he's under like Epitaph Records, so he's under his own stuff, and it's like he's doing his trap, metal sound. But it's like every other artist on that. I remember with Adult Swim, you had Original God, Young Beaks on that.
Are you talking about Keith's whole SoundCloud likes? That's all of Keith's SoundCloud likes?
No, I wanted to throw my mic over here.
It was like,
no, I mean, bro, we can hear you, bro. We got
it was like Kamiata, Original God, Young Beaks, and then Dutchman on production.
Yeah.
Oh man, that
was your shit in that era, wasn't it? Yeah, that was your shit.
I think it was, what was it? Oh yeah, Tale of the Ghost. Kamiata had like multiple versions of Tale of the Ghost. He had like an early version under a different producer. He took the acapella and then Virus did a remix of it, and that blew up. And then Kamiata did his own, like, he did a remix, not contest, but just like a remix little thing. Mm-hmm. And then he put the acapella out for free, just on like a just a media fire link, I think,
Yeah. Oh, like flip this?
Yeah, flip this for fun.
Yeah.
And so I have the full acapella. It's not like ripped from anything. It's the full acapella, And then, I just laid it over like my ambient, like trap stuff. And it's amazing. Like, I love how that song also still gets a lot of love.
Yeah.
Can
I say a quick comment about the way that you layer your vocals? And I kind of want to segue that also to your song Wasted, which is pinned on your... Instagram is like essentially seeming that is
favorite rock songs I've written.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So my double question to you is, I've noticed that you do like to do this like kind of like anthem reverb style vocal for a lot of your stuff. Where the words aren't very how do you say like super articulate or intelligible, but it's more of like
it's the full sound. Yeah, I'm layering so much.
It's like the large reverb sound of things, and you did that also with the Kamiata remix, but especially so with the Wasted track.
Yeah,
and I personally am such a fan of that as somebody who's like really into like King Cruel and like those kind of like like those aesthetically kind of like you take the vocal out of the forefront and you let it kind of be an instrument. I'm
kind
such
of exists
a fan
on your
of
new
that.
project like that too.
Well, that came from, again, to bring it back to that earlier question of like, was it a progressive like progression in your sound, or is it just punctuated with these breakthroughs? And the breakthrough was discovering and diving into shoegaze music. I was just falling in love with like the classic, like
M83.
Like My Bloody Valentine.
That's like the classic.
Slow Dive, all those, and then it inspired me so much because I was just like, it came out of like me being a shy singer, and it was just like, okay, you can not make it the forefront. Like it doesn't, and not to say it's like I have the confidence now to like put it more in the front, but I love the fact that it's just like, it's so melded within, and it's like I love putting everything with a lot of reverb. I love stacking so many layers that I don't have to, because I used to be self-conscious, but like I don't do single vocal takes. Like
me neither.
It's never just one take, which I admire. I can't believe there are like rock bands where it's just they rely on just one take, like, or a good take. But I mean, like one vocal like layer. I'm like, how do you have the confidence?
It's just like effect layering.
You have a good enough voice that it just stands on its own. I feel like I have to have 8 layers just to like have the confidence to like.
I don't even think that's confidence. I think that's just you being a good producer. because any
And knowing how to use it.
any
That's true.
song,
Yeah.
it's like you could be the fucking best person. Everyone that was recording, so famous with like Nirvana, for example, was that Kurt was so opposed to doing doubles, but then they had to trick him into like doing doubles, and then we have the records that we have today.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to do doubles,
Yeah.
but the reason that
You have all
hear-
creative control, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of.
it's like, like having those like double, triple takes really is a testament to the fact that you are good at your craft. You understand. You're just refortifying it as opposed to, like the one take shake thing. It is great, and you can do a lot with that. You can, and especially as a producer, you can really beef up one track.
Yeah.
But like, dude, if you have like three,
If you just sing as many times, it'll smooth out all your pitches. It'll smooth out everything.
Yeah, I've started to become more aware of that.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to say that.
Well, it came from just like, I wouldn't even say, it's all experimentation, but like just realizing that it's like, because I remember where it came from. Apparently it was like a technique that Dave Grohl did in the first like Foo Fire albums, where he was just like, he didn't do like singular takes, and then once I'd learned that, multiple takes, like there's a reason why people double track vocals. It beefs up the sound, it smooths out all pitches and stuff, and it like
you get some cool harmonics in it.
So I just extend that, and I just knowing what I know about how to do music production, I'm just like, now I know how to do that confidently and well.
With your own vocals, yeah.
You know what I
100%. Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
You know what I want to ask to segue to something light while we start to close things out is you always pull up to the shows like with your camera and stuff.
Oh,
What's up with you're shooting film, right?
yeah, 35 millimeter
what's,
film.
What's kind of how did that?
I guess
come
there's a
about?
fun story to that. I mean, so
You got a 35?
yeah, 35 millimeter camera,
wow.
and it's a really kind of fun little short story to that. Is I got that camera again, kind of crazy like story behind it. It's a camera from the 1960s because it was my dad's camera when he was in high
shit.
school. When he went to friggin' high school in the 60s, and
Wow.
it was like the company's called Yashica, and it's like of the first like era of, not the first, but it's like the first of the era of digital cameras. When I say, actually not digital, electric cameras,
Right.
in which the shutter speed is now being controlled by a battery, so you can actually adjust how to have the best exposure.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that. It's as
Yeah.
most advanced
Yeah.
as it's getting when you see
Yeah,
a 1960s electric
yeah.
camera. But it's still 35 millimeter film. So
Interesting, yeah.
It's like one of the first early integrations of like circuitry with like regular old like flash
Sweet.
photography.
Like
Yeah.
minimal effort or minimal ideas of being able to like control like aperture and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
but like
then-
without battery use.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And because it's powering the light sensors.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's just seeing how much light is coming in, and it's doing whatever calculation in that, or not even calculation, like whatever
Right.
circuitry is in, allowing it, and then there's a little just yellow or red light where it's just like it'll turn on yellow if it's underexposed, and it'll flash red if it's
Yeah.
overexposed, and you just get it to where the light doesn't turn on.
You're right
It's
there,
as
baby.
simple as-
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, but it's
Yeah.
an electric camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I brought it back from Japan after a trip last year, and it was like not working. I had to find.
shit.
I found this dude on the internet from camera forums. He's this old guy who lives in Georgia who repairs specifically Yashica cameras, which was just
Such a
crazy.
niche little
niche
thing.
thing.
Yeah, what a niche.
Shout out
little-
to Mark Hama.
Shout out
bless
to
him.
Mark. If you ever see this,
Yeah,
shout out
he
to
probably
you,
isn't.
man.
He's in his 70s. He
Well-
does this as a hobby. But on his website, it's a black and white photo of him, and his bio is written by his son. And it's like he worked in the factories in the
Oh
70s and
my
80s.
gosh.
He was in the factories.
Yeah.
And
So
he, is,
he knows
What a
it
legend.
inside out.
and
What a
he has
legend.
been spending
Yeah.
his retirement years just doing niche camera
Yeah.
repair services.
Yeah.
And he runs a small, humble Google
What a
Google website
fucking
that's just
legend,
text.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have to call the number because someone had recommended on the forums, don't email him. He'll never answer it. He only uses the email to send you the invoice. Invoice that he typed out on Word.
That is
Like,
crazy. Yeah.
to email to you as an attachment.
Oh, that's
And then he
hilarious.
links, and his son just links just puts in the PayPal link. But
Wow.
he's writing the invoice on Word.
Man. Sounds like our late electronic teacher that passed away.
People that are just in it.
And then I sent it to him, and it took like a month and a half. I mean, I didn't press the guy. I was just like, if you can get this camera working, like you're
cool.
Like I'm indebted to you forever, because like this is, it'd be so cool to just like have this passed down. I might even want to pass it down or something. But he got it 100% working,
restored.
Everything was 100% restored. The electronics were working. Like you take a battery,
That's
all this stuff, and I just been having fun
phenomenal.
with it. I'm not. Photography is not necessarily like a main hobby, but it's a new like little hobby that I've been doing, and I just love bringing it to shows, and I just love like taking pictures of like random stuff. And in no way am I like I have a hit rate of like 5 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like where it's like.
No, but that's really cool, dude. I did not expect this type of story to come out of like you pulling up and like pulling a camera out of your bag and like taking shots. Like it's
that's phenomenal, man.
That's cool that I noticed you do that. But damn, dude, like that's such a cool like.
It's just the little things that have been giving me a lot of happiness. Those fun new hobbies.
Dude, that's so fucking awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, it was cool because
great,
it was a cool moment when I took a photo of like my dad like during the holidays, and when I showed it to him, it was just cool to just kind of see his reaction, like whoa, like, and he was like telling we had like whenever we had family over or something, or even like in-laws or something, he'd be like telling us like, look at this, it's like he took that photo with the camera that I used in high school, like he's like excited, it's like can you believe that, like
that's hype, dude.
It's like a family heirloom at that point.
I mean, it was so funny. When I was in Japan, I got it because we were cleaning out. Again, it was a positive trip, but it's like it was mainly for my grandma's memorial.
Sure,
the year before. Yeah. So we were there, just it was like finally because it was Japan had opened up, so we could actually go there. But it was like the memorial service, so it wasn't sad where it was like the funeral or anything heavy. It was just like, oh, it's a celebration, sort of like we're cleaning up her
celebration of the dead, baby.
Yeah, we're like cleaning up her like the headstone, the family grave, and like we're putting fresh flowers. We're meeting with like this like Shinto priest, and he's like giving a blessing and stuff.
That's awesome.
And it was funny because we're going through the house and cleaning out some stuff, and the whole thing was like for me and my sister. She's much older than me, but the whole game was like, oh, if there's any memento you want to bring back, it's not that we're throwing anything away, but it's like anything right now that you want to pull back before we clean the house. And then I open this like cabinet again. It's like things are covered in like 5 inches of dust, And deep within this cabinet, I'm just looking through. I'm like, what am I gonna find? And I see the camera in the leather case. I feel like you may have seen it around. I'm carrying it, so I didn't know it was a camera. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And I open up, and it's that pristine looking 35mm camera. And my dad is like, oh, throw that away. I don't think it works. Like he's unaware that young people love this shit. And he was just like, "That's
came up on a good one for sure."
He's like, "Aren't these better?" Like
it's not better.
Like not.
Pejoratively. No. I get what you mean. It's like, dude, this looks way better. Why would you want to use this old ass camera?
Don't you have AI on your?
It's like it doesn't need film. Like, what are you talking about? This is like, why would you want to have a film camera? But then, so it was really cool. Like
that's wholesome.
Restored and everything. He was like, okay, this is actually cool, because he was just like, I thought it was just.
Dude, the restoration process is crazy these days. Yeah.
No,
I mean, there's a reason that like vinyl's like popping up.
Dude, I'm so hyped to hear that. Like, that's so fucking fun.
That's awesome. That
nice. Yeah, dude, I'm glad we end that on such like a wholesome story.
Yeah.
What I really want to say again, dude, thank you so much for coming out.
Gosh,
like, this is awesome.
This is great.
It's such a good time, and we talk about this with like off camera a lot with people who have been doing it. This is our 6th one. That like this is such like we're just like hanging out.
I love it.
Like like this is just us talking. Like I'm really happy to have you to hear all this stuff that we wouldn't know. Listeners, of course, you probably. Don't know unless you're very close.
I think I was telling you guys, on record, like this kind of been the first interview I've ever had as like Castro. You know what I mean? Like I don't even say it's like funny. I'm just like amazed. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think anyone's ever asked me like questions about
maybe everyone that's like got a chance to hear your shit. On any reels or anything.
We already asked the good questions.
We're gonna have
fun.
you got to think of something better.
Not have fun.
We're gonna this is the first time that you'll get to hear from the man himself.
This has been great.
This is what
Castro.
I always like to think about it, where it's like this will be the thing that probably Nardwar uses for research.
When
he wants to like do a deep dive, and he'll bring up like he'll just say something, and I'm like, I know where you got that from. The only interview I ever did.
Oh, shit. That's so good. Yeah.
But that's what will happen.
This has been great. This is right. The Supraliminal Spotlight 6. Again, if you haven't already watched Castro's beat set, go back and watch it.
Look up Castro on please on Spotify, on SoundCloud.
All his socials, everything will be in the description. So make sure you peep the description. The beat set's there. Social media is there. All the music's gonna be there.
Yes.
Please make sure you do that. Give Castro a like, follow, give him all the love. But again, thank you so much.
Oh, man, it's been my pleasure.
I'm so happy.
This is Supraliminal, episode 6, signing out, baby.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Peace out.